Like, my body can't even contain it. My body can't even contain it. Did I just witness a movie? So giddy with joy and excitement. The smile on my face. Neighbors are gonna hate me. You already know I need that uniform so badly. What's up, everybody? Gannon here, back at again with another one of my Star Trek reviews. In last week's episode, Captain Pike and the crew gloriously battled the Gorn in what I perceived to be like one of the best Star Trek episodes to come out in the last 25 years. However, just retcon that because that's how I'm feeling about today's episode. I held out my ear to the usual tides of criticism that seep out of the more red-pilled portion of our glorious community, and lately it just hasn't really been that noticeably present. Usually when a new Star Trek episode comes out, I can't help but find loads of embarrassing comments made by people claiming to be super fans, but I guess it just goes to show you what returning to the basics can do. Fans are loving the return to an episodic style, which in all honesty should be a bare minimum for Star Trek. I'm sure we're all a bit exhausted by the copious amount of serialized drama episodes, and coupled with above average writing and a noticeable effort to show respect to existing Star Trek canon. And what do you know, ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Today's episode of Trek is one I've really been looking forward to because it pays homage to one of the most iconic culture and lore-filled episodes of Star Trek ever made, Amok Time, and the showrunners have been talking for a while, claiming that this episode will actually be somewhat of a funny one. I'm going to hold them up to that standard in this review. Let's see if they prevail in the latest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 5, titled Spock Amok. Let's get into the review. That is the best Star Trek episode to come out the last 25 years. I think that this easily rivals the episode that it pays homage to. Spock Amok is insane. It is easily just as good as Amok Time, in my opinion. This is the best episode of Strange New Worlds to come out yet. It makes me so excited for future episodes, and I'm gonna be honest, at minimum, Strange New Worlds needs to be 7 seasons of 10 episodes, but I want more than that. I want, like, movies. I want everything from the show. They should really make this their Mandalorian, like their Obi-Wan. They should pour everything into this show because honestly, it's just amazing. If we can get this show successful and see that fans like this and we could build on this, then Star Trek has a hopeful future because this episode was insane. First thing I would like to say is that my only criticism of this episode was there was one thing missing from it, okay? Amok Time gave us so much lore and culture about the Vulcans. It's literally paramount to that one episode where Riker goes aboard the Klingon ship and we learn so much about them that really just sticks. Is consistent with their culture throughout all of Trek. Like Pon farr for the first time is brought up in that episode. That's actually the only episode in the TOS where we get to see Vulcan and we go there and see what it looks like visually. On top of that, this episode did an amazing job at like showing us the little ceremonial grounds like the one that was used in Amok Time. At the beginning of the episode, Spock was having a dream, a vision about how he was split into basically 2 Spocks. T'Pring rejected Spock at their ceremony and requested Khalife, the ceremonial fighting of Vulcans. Spock had to fight his Vulcan side as a human, basically an allusion to this constant struggle that he has, and also the fear, reoccurring theme this episode, that T'Pring is going to break up with him because she doesn't like his human side, which honestly, that fear is warranted because T'Pring is a little bit mean how she keeps on bringing up Spock's human side and keeps on criticizing him. She does it multiple times throughout the episode. I'm really going on a tangent because this episode was just so fire. Episode, we learn about the Lirpa, the Vulcan bells, we learn about Pon farr, we learn about the ritual, we also see the Vulcan salute for the first time. But one of the coolest things about that episode for me was the Vulcan gong. And the thing that's disappointing about the Vulcan gong is that's just it. It's literally just called the Vulcan gong. I don't think it has an official name. It's referenced in this episode too. I mean, we literally get to see it at the beginning, at the start of the episode, and then later T'Pring says that like she has a gong, or maybe it's Spock and T'pring's body. I don't exactly remember, because this episode is Vulcan Freaky Friday. Yeah, Spock is Lindsay Lohan in this episode of Star Trek. T'pring and Spock switch bodies in a Vulcan mind meld that goes bad. It is just completely Freaky Friday. They are forced to just switch jobs for the day, and they're forced to work in each other's position. One of the things that I liked about this episode was when T'pring actually came up with the idea to go and work and do Spock's job and actually negotiate in his place later in the episode. It makes me think that she's actually giving an effort and she's not totally bitching at Spock the entire episode, you know what I mean? I really wish they'd give the Vulcan gong a name in this episode. I wish they would have given us some new lore. That's the only thing I'm slightly disappointed in this episode. The new captain's, like, not dress uniform, because it's not the dress uniform, I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's just the captain's personal uniform. At the beginning of the episode, they're at Starbase 1. A lot of OG stuff is popping up in Strange New Worlds. They are at Starbase 1 in Admiral April. Love this actor, by the way. He does a great job in this episode, and the new Admiral April is just fire, and I would love to maybe get like a spin-off scene, a short trek of Robert April at the helm of the Enterprise when he's a captain. That would be a good short trek. But then again, maybe they should just never make another short trek again, because the ones that have been made so far are absolutely horrible and are some of the worst canon mistakes that New Trek has made, and they're really lazy and bad. Admiral April gives this briefing that basically they're trying to strike a deal with the Rhongosian Protectorate. They own a piece of territory that is between the Federation and the Klingons. It allows for safe passage into the Beta Quadrant. However, that territory is now up for grabs. The Federation just got out of the war with the Klingons, which they're beautifully referencing in this episode. The Klingon war that happened in Discovery is a little bit warped, and when you go and watch that season, it's almost a little bit hard to believe that it actually happened in the Star Trek timeline. But I love the way they actually talk about it, and the way that they're presenting Starfleet now. It feels a lot more comfortable and natural, and actually feels like we're in the prime timeline, and that actually felt like a real conflict that could have happened with the Klingons, the way they're talking about it. I love that dialogue. The Rhongosians are also riding in on an old style solar ship, which highly reminds me of the Bajoran solar ships from Deep Space Nine. That has just got to be a direct allusion, especially at the end of the episode. You get to see it fly, and it's beautiful, and it looks just exactly like the Bajoran one. The same colors and everything, just a different construction. Oh my god, I'm so ADHD. I love the captain's uniform. I love the captain's uniform. It looks so good. It's bright lime green, and it's kind of a mix between the Discovery Pike jacket that I love so much, and then also the new like TOS style uniforms they have. It's like a best of all three worlds put together, and I bet a lot of people are gonna find it goofy looking, because in essence, both Kirk's personal uniform and this Captain Pike's personal uniform, they're both a little bit goofy looking, but that's why I love them, dude. I need that jacket. I don't care what I have to pay. Take my money. I'm just so happy to be alive to watch today's Star Trek episode. It's so good. It literally has me talking in a high-pitched voice and screaming and my neighbors off. It was that good. Trying to strike a deal with the Rhongosians, and you kind of get the impression from the Rhongosians, especially at the start, that they are extremely awesome. They are a great Trek species. Like, they actually feel like a real Trek species. If you remember, I was making the criticism of like the Kylie in the first episode, how they didn't feel like a real Trek species, and how they kind of felt like the usual NPC background aliens that Kurtzman Trek does, but the Rhongosians finally have perfected the formula, okay? The Shepherds were a good step in the right direction, but the Rhongosians, humanoids that just look slightly different, that have their own beautiful culture. Captain Pike is trying to negotiate with the Rhongosians at the beginning of the episode, because they abruptly come into the meeting room when they're, I'm pretty sure they arrive a little bit early, which is why Captain Pike is still in his personal dress uniform. He isn't ready to see them. After the first talk with Captain Pike does his usual good negotiating skills. They don't want to talk to him anymore. They're actually salty and discontent with the confrontation. Pike's madly confused because he feels like it's gone very well. They request to only see Spock, where, the Freaky Friday aspect of this episode comes through. T'Pring has to go in Spock's place, and Spock has to go in T'Pring's place to go meet this guy whose name I'm pretty sure is BAJORAN, and he's responsible for an incident that happened on Kepler 22b, like an actual rebellion or uprising against the Vulcan government, perhaps. You'll see when I get to BAJORAN later. BAJORAN's an absolute dick. Spock in T'Pring's body punches BAJORAN because BAJORAN's actually just racist against humans, especially Spock, because he's half human, and he keeps on BMing both Spock while he's in T'Pring's body and Chapel, who's right next to Spock. And the thing that really sets him off, I'm pretty sure, is when he makes a comment about Nurse Chapel, finally, like the company that you keep. So, like, just finally punches him straight in the face, and I'm pretty sure that is the moment where Nurse Chapel may have truly developed a crush on Spock. So many beautiful things about Nurse Chapel in this episode, by the way. This is a Nurse Chapel shining episode, but weirdly, everybody shines in this episode. It's like Star Trek is good at utilizing their cast again. I might take a couple digs at Discovery in this review, because honestly, Discovery Season 4 has just proven to me that Michelle Paradise is incapable of producing a Star Trek show. She should not be trusted with running it alone, and I think that Star Trek Discovery should be given an extra show run, because this show is just making it so blatantly obvious where Discovery falls short of just being completely off the formula. Discovery, the first 2 or 3 seasons, were doing so many unbelievably bold, beautiful things that I love, but now we're at season 4 and it's just ripped the life out of it. We're still not really utilizing the cast, and the dialogue is awful. But Strange New Worlds has proven to me that we can have all of those. We can have really awesome new Gen Z themes. We can have LGBTQ representation, and it could be fucking okay? Like, we learned that Nurse Chapel is bisexual in this episode. We learn so many things about her character, like how she sees relationships, how she always keeps distance from people. There was this one, I'm pretty sure Lieutenant, I think his name was like Lieutenant Devon or something, who was on a date with Nurse Chapel, and Nurse Chapel was honestly just trying to like fuck this dude, just trying to have fun. She's not looking for any relationship. I loved Nurse Chapel in this episode. I actually loved everybody in this episode. Like, for another thing, at the end of the episode, T'Pring and Spock have to like do a Katra switch. Benga actually performs a procedure refers to as a Katra transfer, rubs goop on both of their foreheads that's made out of a weird sea urchin, and then actually performs like an amazing Star Trek medical procedure! Actually performs a fucking amazing medical procedure. Oh my god, was this such a good episode of Star Trek? It was insane! Doctors are doctoring again, and I love Mbenga because he's got a great personality, a great actor, and he performs medicine, Star Trek medicine, the way it should be performed. He does it in his own style. Version of like medicine that's a little bit more traditional, and it's not completely corny. Like, he really explains the procedure, and it's not totally corny and unbelievable beyond fiction. Do you know what I mean? Loved the outfits. I love the designs for everything in this episode. Nurse Chapel and also Ortega's were wearing some outfits before they were going out on shore leave, and all the outfits managed to look both vintage and modern at the same time, with Chapel just wearing this pastel-y get-up with just these dope like shorts or pants, I don't remember which, and then Ortega's rocking a bomber jacket with like a modern just fit. So like, I get the impression that this is like the TOS, and it's also modern, and they totally just hit the ball on that aspect every time, whether it be the Enterprise, whether it be Starbase 1, whether it be Pike and the Rhongosians in Admiral April around the negotiating table, and you could see the Enterprise and the solar ship in the background. So many things about this show are just knocking it out of the park. A couple scenes in this episode that kind of made me chuckle, because I knew that it was supposed to be funny. Maybe it was a little bit harder to make me laugh. I could tell you that on the inside, I was so giddy, like energy is just building up inside my body, and I have a smile on my face the whole time. So while I may not have just laughed my ass off, I was completely happy and entertained more than I have been in any episode of Kurtzman Trek ever, probably. And there were a lot of just like jibes, jabs, gags, goofs. Ortega's mentions yeomans and kind of roasts them and says that's why they're yeomans, you know what I mean? Yeomans are just stupid assistants. They're not real Starfleet members. I love everything about this episode. I'm geeking too hard right now. Like, bro, I'm geeking too hard. Sorry if my energy is too much for you guys to handle today. What would you have me do? What would you have me do after an episode that gas? What would you have me do? The moment where this episode shines really is towards the end with the Rhongosians, in my opinion, is just my favorite part about the episode because it has one of the best Star Trek captain scenes of all freaking time. Like, for one thing, T'Pring is in Spock's body and starts kind of being sassy. Before I kind of saw the scene where she stood up and was like, you know, Spock, it might be a good idea if we switch roles and see how each other operates on a day-to-day basis. Maybe that will make our relationship work better. And then I was thinking, yo, T'Pring might actually come in clutch and perform surprisingly well in Spock's place and might impress the Rhongosians, but it went in a separate direction. No, it's actually still Captain Pike's time to shine. Like, I thought that this may have been an episode where Captain Pike wasn't going to totally impress the socks off of me, but no, this dude gives us one of the best, most memorable captain's moments in all of Star Trek. For one thing, he just goes up and gives this kind of like speech trying to defend T'Pring in Spock's body, talks directly to T'Pring, and oh my god, was this speech just like flowing off this dude's tongue like butter. T'Pring was starry-eyed, dude. I was almost a little bit starry-eyed the way this guy was talking. The Rhongosians were so impressed that the captain would stand up for Spock despite them even interjecting. Captain Pike is the best modern Star Trek captain after that scene, 100%. I love Michael Burnham, but Captain Burnham as a character needs a total rework. I just am discontent with the character as Captain Burnham. Like, as soon as she got in the captain's chair, I thought it was going to be the best part of Discovery, but so far it's been the most lackluster, and her character has almost gotten like less personable. I swear, Michael Burnham in seasons 1 through 2 had more of a personality than Captain Burnham like ever will at this rate. This episode is beautiful. I love how Nurse Chapel shined and helped Spock and was a friend for him and gives us a basis for their relationship in the TOS and how she kind of had a crush on him, trying to give him the plomeek soup and all. We learn at the end of the episode that T'Pring's criticisms of Spock stem from a place of uncertainty. She wants to know that Spock wants to be there and he's not just treating their relationship like another responsibility or duty. The episode ends off with, like I said, one of the best captain scenes of all time. Captain Pike gives absolute candor to the Rhongosians, and it's just the best thing I've ever seen. Only all politicians in real life were actually like this. I feel like we could be living in a utopian society. Too bad they all want to behave like Captain Pike was probably behaving earlier, like a diplomat, like a politician, trying to kind of convince somebody to join you with the pros and cons, trying to even be slightly manipulative when you know that they're not getting the best bargain. Captain Pike totally just explained, hey, if you're going to join the Federation, we're probably just going to be like all those other guys telling you the pros and cons, and then you'll join our side, and the only conflict that you guys will probably ever see is because you join us. It was just so great. I loved everything about it, and the Rhongosians were just as impressed as me. Captain Pike took a gamble. At the beginning of the episode, you know how they mentioned that they're a race that truly values empathy. He took that literally, took it as a clue, took that gamble, and was trying to talk to them as though he understood them from their point of view. This hyperactive, absolute empathy that the Rhongosians like have, and that is their trait. That's what makes them a Star Trek race. They're a slightly altered humanoid bipedal race that has one really interesting trait that the whole episode kind of revolves around and makes it interesting, and that's why they're just a great Trek species, why this is a great Trek episode, why that was a great captain's uniform, and why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. And while I'm talking about all that, I haven't even had time to talk about those amazing scenes with number 1 and Lon, how they played Enterprise bingo. There was that beautiful scene where they played good cop, bad cop in front of those two ensigns, the one Bolian and the one human ensign, and the last thing that they had to do on the list was go to the Scorch, which is the oldest, most unreplaced piece of the Enterprise's hull. You go over there and it's good luck to write your name on it. While they were writing their name on it, at the end of the episode, they saw the solar ship fly with the banner of the Federation, because they said that the Rhongosians fly the banner of the people who they make a treaty with, and obviously because Pike took that gamble, that beautiful ending scene, they decide to join the Federation, and now we have an explanation for why the Federation is able to maybe kind of safely travel into the Beta Quadrant even though so many of their enemies are there. And we got that in the form of this amazing, awesome new Trek race. And also, just because I kind of have not been giving them too much love this review, Rebecca Romijn is an amazing number 1. She's so tall, big, and beautiful, and she's the most perfect number 1 I'm convinced there isn't another human human alive who could play her role better. The fact that they were willing to actually play Enterprise bingo to understand the crew better, like how T'Pring and Spock were trying to understand each other better, was amazing. I loved every single part of this episode. There wasn't a single part of it that was weak. It's a constant flow of content. Star Trek in the past, every episode is episodic and there's a constant chain of events. It's constant content with constant dialogue that's constantly keeping me glued to the screen, and this is what that episode gave me. And on top of that, it was just amazing, memorable, iconic episode. I need to stop talking. I need to get this review out. 9 out of 10. I haven't given it 10 out of 10 yet because I swear there's an episode out there that's going to come in the future that deserves it, but this one easily deserves a 9 out of 10 for me. What did you guys think? Am I crazy, or is that the best episode to come out of Star Trek in probably like the last 15-20 years? Just so impressed. I'm so geeked. I'm so excited to edit this and upload this. Sorry if my energy was too much today, like autism exploding on my body because that episode was so good. On another note, I am now a YouTube partner. I got accepted to the YouTube partner program like within the last 2 weeks. That to me, I'm not a religious person, but I think it's fair to say that that's just like an absolute blessing. It's a dream come true. I think I've almost made like $10 on YouTube, and it's so insane that I could upload a video and like people will maybe like to watch it, and like a bit of money comes out. That's just so freaking insane to me. And anybody who takes the time to watch any of my content, comment anything, even if it's negative or even if it's a criticism of me. Like, for one thing, people were absolutely killing me last episode about how I misinterpreted what happened in that scene with Chief Transporter Kyle and that crewman. In my headcanon, it would have been so much saucier if like Transporter Chief Kyle had accidentally pushed him out of the way and then caused him to die, because I feel like maybe that would have made potential for some Chief Transporter Kyle drama later on. I don't know, in my headcanon, I would have liked that scenario to play out the way I got it incorrect. But what I'm really just trying to get at here is that I'm extremely blessed that there are even people who are willing to hold me accountable and comment and tell me that I got that wrong and that I misinterpreted that. Like, I'm just so happy that there are people even like watching my videos. So to all of you watching this, to all of you who watch any of my videos, taking any time out of your day at all, I love you, appreciate you so much. I'm just so happy right now, dude. I'm just so happy to be alive so I can review this episode of Star Trek and watch it. This episode of Star Trek is so good. Like, I can't even process how good that was. But with all that being said, I am trying to become a professional YouTuber eventually at some point in my life. So I do have to unfortunately remind you guys that if you are enjoying any of the content on the channel, be very flattered if you were to subscribe. If you have anything that you would like to share with me, leave it down in the comments below. I love comments. They're my favorite thing about YouTube. I read every single one of them. So just know that if you leave one, no matter if it's dope, criticism, or just plain mean, I'm gonna read it. So at least you can have that satisfaction. Hope all of you have a great rest of your week. Until next week's episode of Strange New Worlds, live long and prosper.
Can I subscribe?